Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Today we have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover. So we're just going to get right into these topics as always, starting with Hogwarts Legacy, talking about side quests specifically. This is coming from Push Square, and they say Hogwarts Legacy's release date of February 10th is right around the corner, and as the appointed time approaches, we learn more about the many mysteries in store for us. Like any good RPG, expect to spend a significant amount of time off the beaten path, engaging in side quests that, at least on paper, sound like they might have more of an impact than one might expect. Speaking to Games Radar, Moria Squire, narrative director on Hogwarts Legacy, discussed the ways in which side quests can impact the main story, noting that by giving the player choice moments throughout the game, we allow them to tell their own version of that epic story. While you pull at the central narrative threads at the core of Hogwarts Legacy, decisions made during extracurricular activities will manipulate the main campaign by virtue of the experiences they've had. Moreover, interacting with someone in a side quest will impact how you interact with them in the main storyline, and vice versa. Most exciting of all, it looks like these various side quests can be engaged with at will and aren't gated behind the main story progress. As is so often the case with other RPGs, she explains that the order in which the player chooses to complete these quests will impact their story and game. Everything is interconnected, so while it was challenging, it was a lot of fun to do, and it's rewarding to see how well it turned out. So this is very promising, I think, for a Hogwarts Legacy. We've been talking about this game a lot more on the channel, rightly so. The release is right around the corner, and I think that this is something that is going to be a pretty big deal for this game. Knowing it's a big RPG, knowing that it's going to take 40 hours just for the main story, but well over 100 if you want to do everything. It'll be interesting to see, how these side quests stack up to some of the other, AAA open world games that offer really great side quests. It's sounding very promising, so let me know your thoughts on that. We are moving to the next topic, which talks about the Far Cry series. This is coming from Insider Gaming, and they say Insider Gaming sources have revealed that 2 new Far Cry games are in development at Ubisoft, one presumed to be Far Cry 7 as a single-player experience, and the other to be a multiplayer-only title. Details on what both games entail are slim, but it's understood that the titles were intended to be one game at one point, but separated to become 2 separate projects early on in development. The game was believed to be known as Project Talisker under the helm of Daehae until both games became their own separate entities after his departure to Blizzard Entertainment. Far Cry 7 is now internally referred to as Project Blackbird, whereas the multiplayer experience is known as Project Maverick. Both projects are believed to have heavy involvement from Ubisoft Montreal. 2 sources, who have requested to remain anonymous because they were not authorized to speak about company information, have said that details are slim and Maverick has changed numerous times in the past year or so. However, Insider Gaming understands that the game is pitched as being set in the Alaskan wilderness and is currently an extraction-based shooter with mechanics such as permadeath, a backpack system, contracts, and more. Fewer details are known about Far Cry 7 or whatever the next mainline game will be called, but a similar setting to the multiplayer experience could be possible as both titles originated from the same game. It's understood that the games are still at least a couple of years away, with a tentative scheduled release date of fall 2025. Despite the internal deadline, though, the publisher's inconsistency with meeting such deadlines could suggest the game is even further out than that. So this is very interesting. I am a fan of the Far Cry series, so I think this is good ultimately, mainly because we're hearing that this project was supposed to be just one game, and I remember reading about that, and people were like, so we're basically just getting a standalone live service Far Cry game, no more single-player games, and people were not happy about that. It sounds like Ubisoft made the right call and decided to do what Sony's actually doing now, where, you have your standalone single-player experience that people know and love. That's not going anywhere, but if you want to have a multiplayer experience, make that a separate thing that people who just want more can engage with. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see when these games are revealed and what they end up looking like. Let me know your thoughts on that. Next up, I want to let everybody know that a new game for PSVR 2 has been revealed. XR Games has announced that Zombieland Headshot Fever Reloaded is launching alongside PSVR 2 on February 22nd. A revamped version of the original VR shooter, Zombieland Headshot Fever Reloaded, arrives on Sony's new-gen headset with support for adaptive triggers and haptic feedback, as well as enhanced character animations, redesigned progression system, and a new game hub. So just wanted to briefly let you know about this, yet another game that will be there at launch for PSVR 2. I'm not familiar with this game. I don't know if it's like actually good or not, but there you go. Maybe you can let me know if this is a game you actually played and if you're going to be playing it on VR 2. Next up, we are talking about a studio that is now partnering with Guerrilla Games, and this is quite significant because of the pedigree of this support studio. Studio Gobo has announced on Twitter that the company has now become an official Guerrilla Games co-development partner for the Horizon franchise and is now hiring for various roles within the studio. The studio has previously been involved with co-developing Hogwarts Legacy for WB Games and the forthcoming Redfall on Xbox Series systems for Arcane under the Microsoft Bethesda label. Guerrilla Games launched the Horizon franchise in 2017 with Zero Dawn, and we know now that they are basically all in with this franchise, and they are going, in every different direction with it. And we actually are going to talk about Horizon again a little bit later in this video, but this is something that is worth pointing out because this studio does have a pretty good pedigree, and this should give you an idea of just how many different things that Guerrilla Games has in the works, where they now have, a full-blown support studio, significant one at that, backing them up and co-developing some projects with them. So yeah, this is something we're seeing more and more of with some of PlayStation's biggest studios, and it makes sense as they continue to expand and, greenlight different projects. We're going to see more of this. So there you go. The next topic in line talks about some good news for PlayStation Plus Premium Classics as Sony is continuing to add more trophy support to these games. This is coming kind of out of nowhere, but we have seen over time that Sony is trying to boost PlayStation Plus Premium and continue to kind of correct it. We've seen that it's had some very weak months, but more recently they did offer a few more classics. But earlier in the week, Super Stardust Portable just randomly had a trophy update that caught a lot of people off guard, but also got a lot of people very excited. But now we have another title, that being No Heroes Allowed, that has also received trophy support. So, this is something I just wanted to take a moment here to highlight because we don't talk too much about PlayStation Plus Premium, and unfortunately, it just seems like it didn't really take off in any significant way, but there's a ton of potential still here with PS Plus Premium. I think a lot of PlayStation PS Plus subscribers, I should say, believe that, and so it's good to see that they're continuing to support it and do things like this, and I'll keep you guys updated if they end up doing any more. But moving on from that, we are talking about The Last of Us multiplayer. So we have a small update here from Neil Druckmann where he seems to hint that the upcoming multiplayer experience will be more of a co-op focused experience. It says here, reading from WCCF Tech, while Naughty Dog has made their name with big cinematic single-player experiences, they've let it be known that their next big thing is The Last of Us multiplayer project. Thus far, we don't really know much about this new take on The Last of Us other than that it will be a standalone title, have a story, and be as large or even more ambitious than anything Naughty Dog has done before. That all sounds fine and good, but some very basic things remain a mystery, including what kind of multiplayer format can we expect from the game? Is it PvP, co-op, a battle royale? In a recent interview with BuzzFeed for The Last of Us HBO, Neil Druckmann may have let some details about Naughty Dog's multiplayer project slip. In addition to reiterating that the game will have a story and fresh cast of characters, Druckmann mentions that you'll be able to enter the world of The Last of Us with your friend. So here's exactly what he said. We've been pretty open that the next Last of Us game is going to be this multiplayer experience where you'll be able to enter the world of The Last of Us with your friend and get to experience the tension and the brutality of that world and a brand new story and cast of characters that live in another city that we haven't seen yet in the world of The Last of Us. This is going to be another chapter in the universe of The Last of Us. So it's getting harder and harder to kind of listen to Neil Druckmann, talk about this multiplayer game, simply because it just feels like it's such a huge tease. We've been waiting to see it, and we know it's coming later this year, but it is nice to get that explicit confirmation now that co-op will be part of the game. I think this was assumed, but again, it was never officially confirmed. At this point, we're just waiting for PvP to be officially confirmed, but I think that's a given. I feel like it kind of has to be there to some extent. And he once again talks about there being a story, a new cast of characters, and I really do think that for a lot of Last of Us fans who, when they first heard about the standalone multiplayer game, they were like, nah, you know, it's not for me. I don't care about multiplayer. I think they were assuming it's just going to be a large PvP game, but now that they're hearing, oh wait, there's going to be a new story, new characters, and I imagine you will be able to experience a lot of this content, if not maybe all of it, alone, right? Solo. So yeah, this is turning out to be pretty good. Figured I would just give you guys this small update. But moving on to the final topic, this is quite a significant one, talking about another multiplayer game, this time talking about Horizon. We have a leak. Now, what ended up leaking out was some early development footage from 2020 alongside some concept art. Now, I'm not going to show either of these things here for obvious reasons, but I will have the article that links to this down below. Originally came from the Horizon subreddit. And the gameplay footage is pretty extensive, but you can tell it's very early in development. So if you do happen to check it out, keep in mind, like, it's very far from what the final product will end up being. I think the concept art actually gives us a better idea of what to expect, and what it definitely confirms is a different, more cartoonish art style for Horizon. Now, some people might immediately jump on this and be like, wow, I don't like this. They're basically going for the Fortnite look, but you do have to keep in mind what Sony and Guerrilla are looking to achieve with this game. This is going to be a multi-platform game that launches day and date on PC. It's going to be a live service game, something that's going to be supported for many years. So them going with this more stylized look allows it to have basically more longevity. And, you know, I gotta say, based off of what I've seen, both in the concept art and the early footage, I think it looks like it definitely has some potential. I'm very interested in seeing this game where it's at today. That's the only thing about this, is because it's a leak and it's a build from 2020, you know, you have to assume that there's just so much progress that's been made, and who knows, maybe they've changed things quite dramatically. But, you know, I think that this is going to be interesting. I think seeing some of these multiplayer projects, you know, being rolled out and revealed, it's certainly going to be interesting. And I just find it fascinating that, you know, this is the direction that Guerrilla and Sony decided to go in with Horizon. And so, you know, we'll see how it turns out, but I'm definitely going to be interested to see what you guys have to say about this. That's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it informative. Leave it a like if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.